Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast powered by Riverwind Casino. My name is Brandon Drum here with Parker Thune. And news is everywhere on the recruiting world. Jaden O'Neal decommitted from Oklahoma last night. We were recording this on a Friday morning. There's a lot of buzz for Bowe Bentley in Oklahoma right now. We will dive into all of that, plus some buzz for some other big targets as Oklahoma looks to host a massive weekend, June 20th through the 22nd, which we are recording on the 20th. So as we speak, there are players flying in, recruits flying into Oklahoma, and we're going to dive into all of that. We're also going to dive into some upcoming decisions Elite 11 stuff with Bowe Bentley, maybe talk pre-5-star challenge. We'll see what we get into here, but got a lot to talk about, Parker, but first let's thank some sponsors.
And that starts with our presenting sponsor, Riverwind Casino, which has been OKC's premier gaming destination for almost 2 decades now. Nearly 3,000 electronic games, table games, bars, and dining options, plus the best live music in the metro. It's no surprise that Riverwind is always a good time. Got Beats and Bites coming up out there at Riverwind as well. Also want to give a shout out to our friends at Janiking. Janiking is a proud partner of OU Athletics and the greatest team to ever clean, delivering spotless results and solutions from stadiums to any size business across the country. So check out which of their solutions is best for you or your business by going to janiking.com. That's JANIKING.com. Well, Brandon, at this point, it feels like we are on the precipice of resolution in the Jaden O'Neal, Bowe Bentley soap opera. You're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. One of them did last night. Jaden O'Neal is officially out of Oklahoma's class. All signs seem to point toward Florida State there. And there's no two ways about it. There is a lot riding on the Bowe Bentley recruitment at this point for Oklahoma, and things look good. Things look and sound encouraging there. But as we sit here this morning, still undecided is Bentley between OU and LSU.
Yeah, it's undecided. However, how do we want to put this? It feels like there's some movement, right? A little bit behind the scenes, a little bit of movement. Here's what we know is that he wants to get this over with. That's number one. Number two, we saw the Eli Letterman tweet last night where he said that, OU is how did he word it exactly? And I'm going to read the response from the efforting heavily. Okay. I don't know that. I'll just say that a source told me that there was no heavily efforting of this visit. However, the chances of a visit taking place are, I'll just say decent. How about that? That's fair. We'll play the odds here. Decent. Maybe a little above decent, but not maybe. But yeah, I think there's a decent chance that this takes place. As of today. But here's the other thing that Oklahoma is actually worried about is LSU coming in and trying to swoop and get him in as well. So after this weekend, Parker, it goes dead, right? Everything goes dead. So as far as recruiting goes. So this is the last chance for Oklahoma to get in front of him. There's a lot of movement there. There's a lot of stuff going on with the Bowe Bentley situation. As far as a Jaden O'Neal situation goes, I think, look, he decommitted. This felt like the relationship was being mended better over the last month, and that's all fact. It was moving in a positive direction. That said, prior to the Florida State visit, or as the Florida State visit was about to take place, there was here's what I know. There was a bad storm in Tallahassee, so they actually had to fly to Jacksonville and drive for 2.5 hours And in that 2.5 hour drive, I know Oklahoma spoke with the O'Neals multiple times. The issue that abounded was, would Bowe Bentley show up this weekend? Right? I think that's kind of the elephant in the room,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Eli Letterman, we can talk about it now because he put it out there, but uh,
If Bowe Bentley shows up in Norman this weekend, doesn't that feel like curtains for LSU in the recruitment?
yeah, but it also feels like if Jaden O'Neal's on campus for his official and Bowe Bentley showed up, would that not feel like
Oh, that would be a very awkward dynamic.
okay?
Very awkward dynamic.
And let me clear. We were on the podcast, and I said, look, the O'Neals plan to show up to the official visit. At the time, I wasn't, and you and I weren't aware of the Bowe Bentley situation. Matter of fact, I joked last night with a source and said, wouldn't it be fun? This is before the Eli Letterman. And I told you about it. And then you're like, have you seen the Eli Letterman tweet? I was like, no, because I told you I was joking with a said source last night. Like, wouldn't it be funny if Bowe Bentley now just showed up on campus? And they just kind of giggled. And then you said, have you seen the Eli Letterman tweet? I was like, no, have not. Went and looked at it. Oh my God. So of course that led to us talking to more sources about it. And they're like, yeah, look, like that's been in the works for a while, but they wanted to keep it hush hush. Like this is not something they wanted out in the ether.
Yeah.
And so it's out there. I mean, it is what it is at this point.
Yeah.
But I don't know that there's a guarantee that he shows up. I think that's the issue.
Well,
But if he
correct.
does, Parker, yeah, curtains.
Feels over at that point.
Yeah.
Feels very much over. And I don't know, Brandon, I mentioned this to you last night. With as close as we are getting to just knowing, regardless of what the outcome is, to knowing how this whole O'Neal Bentley thing shakes out, it just feels like one enormous exhale. Months and months of uncertainty and tension and controversy, now just seemingly days away from being resolved for good. And in the aftermath of the Jaden O'Neal decommitment, I'll say this about the kid. He handled himself with the utmost class throughout this whole process. And I want to give him credit for that
You talking about
because,
Jaden?
yes,
Oh,
at
100%.
no
Yes.
point did Jaden throw Oklahoma under the bus or say anything demeaning about the program. Um, I do think it was kind of indicative of the just the way things unfolded and deteriorated over the course of these last few months. That he puts out that announcement of his decommitment and he thanks three coaches that are no longer around at OU, which just kind of speaks to the discrepancy in the situation when he committed last June versus the situation this June, 360 days later, when he's backing off his pledge. We've discussed this for months and months and months from every imaginable angle. It's just a very different time at the University of Oklahoma than it was when he jumped on board. This is a kid that was all in with Oklahoma to the point that he and his folks were willing to pack up and move halfway across the country. He wanted to be a Sooner. And I think it was also very mature of him to mention in his decommitment announcement that, hey, I understand college football is a business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this all boils down to is business. Oklahoma's decision to go recruit Bowe Bentley was business. And that came at the unfortunate expense of maintaining Jaden O'Neal's pledge. And so it feels like the two quarterback, or at least the two blue chip quarterback pipe dream is dead for Oklahoma in the 26 cycle. And Ben Arbuckle got to get his man now because
Yeah.
O'Neal is officially out of the picture, and there's no building that bridge back up. Brandon, not to
Mm-hmm.
suggest that the relationships are torched, but just to suggest that it's completely unrealistic to expect that Jaden O'Neal and Oklahoma reconcile at this point. So it's officially Bowe Bentley or bust.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, that's facts. And I look, I think the overall reaction is going to be if he doesn't land Bowe Bentley, it was a horrible mistake.
Oh, he's going to take a lot of flack for that.
Oh, 100%.
A
And
ton of flack.
yeah, because there's a contingent. Like the weird part about this deal is like the fan base is split. They are split. There is a strong contingent that is pissed off that Oklahoma cut ties with a commit that moved halfway across the country and was loyal as hell to Oklahoma
Yeah.
for over a year. And this is taking place. There's the other half that's like, well, they think Bowe Bentley's better.
Yeah.
And that's you have one side that thinks Jaden O'Neal's better, one side that thinks Bowe Bentley's better, one side that thinks Jaden O'Neal's loyal and that they screwed him. The other side that thinks, well, this is business. It's University of Oklahoma. You got to do what you got to do. So like it's one way or the other, you're going to catch flack. If you land zero of them, both those sides are going to unify, and they're going to go after one person or two, actually, three. I guess it would be BV, Nagy, and Arbuckle.
Yeah.
And whether right or wrong, I'm not saying that's right or that's wrong because I think they're doing what they thought was best for the program. I can't like, no matter how you and I feel about how it was handled, one way or the other, if we liked it
Mm-hmm.
or disliked it, doesn't matter. Just like the fans, it doesn't matter. They're doing what they think is best for the
And,
program.
and to be honest, in a world where Bowe Bentley did choose LSU or Oklahoma, and the flack came Ben Arbuckle's way, it's frankly it's deserved at that point. Like you kind of just got to wear it because it is factual, Brandon, that Jaden O'Neal and Oklahoma never have a falling out if the Sooners don't go and pursue Bowe Bentley. If the Sooners never offer Bowe Bentley, we're not having this conversation about Jaden O'Neal. He's not taking official visits to Arizona and Florida State and unofficial to Auburn and just generally exploring all of his available options while still verbally committed to Oklahoma if the Sooners had not given him a reason to look around. And so uh, Ben Arbuckle, in a certain sense, has kind of bet the house on Bowe Bentley. And
Mm-hmm.
if that bet pays out, great. If
Yeah,
not, you got to be prepared to face the consequences. And that's going to
you
come in the
do.
form of a lot of criticism from the fan base. But like, here's the thing, Brandon. And I'll go back to this. I may have mentioned this. I know I've mentioned it on OUinsider.com. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it on a podcast or two before. But there are several sources down in the DFW area who, for months, have remarked to me that if Jaden O'Neal was not committed to Oklahoma, Bowe Bentley would have pledged to the Sooners long ago. He's a
Same.
lifelong OU
Yep.
fan. And
Yep.
so now that Jaden O'Neal is out of the class and out of the picture, what is standing in Oklahoma's way with Jaden O'Neal? Well, not much of anything. There's no reason why this shouldn't come together in the Sooners' favor with
Theoretically,
Bowe Bentley.
LSU would be the one thing that would be standing in Oklahoma's
Well,
way.
okay, yes, but you get what I'm saying.
I
Like
mean,
if it is true that Bentley
yes,
would have committed to Oklahoma long ago,
you're right.
absent O'Neal, and
Yeah,
O'Neal is now out of the picture, A plus B equals C, 2 plus 2 equals 4. Like you would think this is going to swing in Oklahoma's favor here.
you would think, yeah. But I was saying, like, if it doesn't, like, I don't think I look is scrutiny warranted. Okay, probably a little bit for not going all the way through with Jaden O'Neal. Um, and I think some of the fan base would be warranted. I think all the fan base would be warranted to be upset in that situation that you ended up empty-handed in 2026.
Mhm.
However, in the world of the transfer portal, all is not lost. And that's I think how fans have to look at this one way or the other. That Oklahoma's going, okay, you got Bowe Bentley potentially in the works here. If that doesn't work out, take everything and a little more and throw it at the best transfer portal quarterback that you possibly can and see where it goes from there. And if that doesn't work out, okay, now if you don't land Peyton Houston, you're in trouble in 2027, which If I'm a betting man right now, I bet Oklahoma lands Bentley and I bet Oklahoma lands Peyton Houston. Just a betting man right now. And this is we're talking 6 months out, national signing, 5 months out, national signing day, essentially, 5.5 months. And give or take a year and a half from Peyton Houston. So take that for what it's worth. But yeah, Oklahoma's in good standing, I think, with both. Like you said, I think Jaden O'Neal handled that about as best as he possibly could. I'll say this, like the call I got yesterday before they put that out there was like, hey, look, we're about to decommit today. Um, we'll see where this goes. And if everybody kind of thinks this is going Florida State, Parker, like I'll tell you, the people around Jaden are like, we'll see, because there's probably going to be a team or two that sees him decommit from Oklahoma and probably tries to throw their name in the hat. That would be my guess. And so I could see Jaden taking a couple of, in-season official visits potentially. I think it's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out at the end of the day. I'll even say this. There's a couple sources with Oklahoma last night that told me flat out that if you're talking like just arm talent, there probably isn't a better arm talent in the class than Jaden O'Neal. I think at the end of the day, I think it just came with it is I think it was fit. I think it was personality fit. I think it was everything. And it's not like Jaden has like the best personality, and I think his dad is an amazing person. I just think that's how Oklahoma felt. I don't know that. Like I'm just saying like my my personal opinion on that. I think there was some feeling like maybe the personalities weren't. But I think it's it is what it is, right? I think he was loyal until being loyal was too much.
And
So
especially
you
when you're a
really,
quarterback, especially when
yeah.
you're a quarterback, Brandon, like the reality is what has to matter the most for you if you want to get to the NFL one day is opportunity. Because without starts at the collegiate level and a lot of them, you're not going to have I should say this. You're not going to as reliably be able to position yourself for an upper echelon NFL draft slot or to position yourself for a long-term career in the National Football League if you're not gaining starts at the collegiate level, putting stuff on tape and gaining the requisite experience that is necessary to be ready to step into the professional realm and excel. Guys don't do that. For the most part, guys don't do that at the quarterback position unless they have started for at least 2 years at the collegiate level. Again, not without exception, but if you look at the overwhelming majority of quarterbacks that have had success in the NFL and are actively having success in the NFL, the overwhelming majority of those guys had at least 2 years of starting experience at the collegiate level under their belt. And so everybody from the high school ranks that plays quarterback, that has that vision for themselves, that's where they want to go. And let's face it, there's probably not a quarterback that's serious about playing college football and has serious offers to play college football that isn't thinking about that as the long-term goal. Those guys are going to value opportunity above most, if not all else.
Mhm.
Relationships matter. NIL is going to matter. Development's going to matter. But opportunity looms large. And that's why a guy like Jaden O'Neal is probably not going to be as eager to jump into a situation where he's one of two quarterbacks in a class because who's to say that the opportunity is there for you? at a place like Oklahoma the way that you expected it to be when you were the only quarterback in the class. So again,
Yeah.
it's a conversation that we've rehashed many a time, but you perfectly understand it from a business standpoint from both the Oklahoma side and Jaden O'Neal's side of things. I'm I'm just glad we can kind of move ahead and figure
Hmm.
out what the next thing is, which appears to be Bowe Bentley for Oklahoma. If it's not, we're going to have a 5 alarm fire type of podcast to do when he commits to LSU. But what's done is done. Onward we march.
What's dead will never die for those Game of Thrones fans. So I don't know why that phrase made me think of that Ironborn stuff, but anyways, um, yeah, this is gonna be a fun. It's just gonna be a fun next few weeks for Oklahoma. I'm gonna go out here and say it for y'all, everybody that's upset about the Jaden O'Neal thing, and rightfully so. The next few weeks, OU fans, um, buckle up. Things are going, and I'm gonna say next few weeks. How about the next month? I think that's probably a better timetable. Would you say? Probably next month.
If we just look at the next 8 days, Brandon,
Yeah, it's gonna
consider
get
this.
wild.
Consider how many announcements are going down that we know are going down in the
Hmm.
next 8 days for major OU targets. Danny Odom on June 23rd. Dallas Dickerson on June 24th. Desmond Green and Craig Dandridge on June 26th. Deacon Schmidt on June 28th. And you can probably, I don't know conclusively, but you can probably throw Bowe Bentley in there on that same timeline, that same rough timeline. In the next 7 to 10 days, I feel we should know where Bowe Bentley is going to play college football.
I mean, yeah, I would say maybe even earlier than that, potentially.
Well, if
Potentially.
he's in Norman this weekend, then yeah, you
Potentially. I
figure
mean,
we'd know
it could be
much
as
quicker.
early as tonight,
As early as tonight.
which would be your Friday night.
Okay.
If it was to happen, like that, I mean, that's as early because the official visits start. That's why I'm saying it could be as early as tonight with the official visit starting. He's not taking an official visit. He's just, I guess theoretically, he could take 2 official visits to Oklahoma, couldn't you? It's the
No,
new rule. Can you
no,
not?
no.
Oh no, that's what the
Still only
change
one
of
visit
staff.
per
That's what
school.
the change of staff. That's right. And they have staff changes. You can.
Hmm.
That's right. Sorry. Um, I keep thinking like with the unprecedented rules, but I guess everybody would do that if they could. But um, yeah, him living two 2.25 hours away from Oklahoma from Norman is might work in Oklahoma's favor this weekend. Might. We'll see how this plays out. Like I think if you're an OU fan, don't get your hopes up too much because there's always that chance it could be let down. That's why we always say
Come on now, Brandon. You just said it could be as soon as tonight, and then you chase that
no, no,
with
no, no,
you
no,
shouldn't
no,
get
no.
your
Yeah,
expectations up too much.
yeah. But I mean, look. I get that. I get it. Yeah, fair enough. Um, but and I said as soon as tonight because that's when the official visits start, and that's when like if he was going to show up, he would either show up as early as tonight or it would be tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, that it would take place. And I was told that like if that's when it was going to happen. So like and I'm just saying don't get your hopes up to the point where you think like this is like a for sure thing because we've said it's not a for sure thing. It's a pretty decent chance, but like again, LSU is still trying to do their thing too. And if they somehow meander a way to get him on campus instead of Oklahoma, yeah, you're going to know one way or the other where he's going, I think. The funny part would be if he just doesn't visit anybody this weekend. And then we just sitting here going, oh my God, like now you still don't know. And you just got to sit around and wait again.
Hmm.
But I still think it's done in the next 7 to 10 days, regardless of if he visits LSU or Oklahoma or whatever. So, um, you threw in a prediction for 4-star wide receiver Dallas Dickerson.
I did.
I have not, but I concur with your pick after talking to people. So
Yeah,
like,
I like where that one's headed. I don't know anything, and I mentioned that on the board. I was like, look, if I know for a fact a kid's committing to OU imminently, I'm not going to outright blow their cover at this point. Like maybe I would have done that in my younger years as a flex. I think I think I've moved past that practice because
yeah,
yeah, I mean, look, in the last few weeks, you've had guys like DeZephan Walker for one, Derek Johnson for another, Ja'Cory Smith, all silent to Oklahoma and then announced very shortly thereafter. So if the announcement's coming imminently and I know it's happening, I'm not going to blow these kids' cover with a pick. And Dallas Dickerson is supposed to announce 4 days from today, Tuesday the 24th. I don't know for a fact that one's going in OU's favor, but just based on the sum of the conversations that I've had on the OU side surrounding that recruitment in the last few days,
yeah.
I'm confident enough to project that Dickerson winds up in OU's class right now. So he's going to choose from between Oklahoma, Georgia Tech, and Kentucky. On paper, that's a battle OU should win. Georgia Tech has the proximity factor working in their favor because the kid is from the state of Georgia. Kentucky got the last official visit, so there's a case to be made for all three schools, but I just like where Oklahoma has positioned themselves, and he's got a healthy admiration for what Oklahoma is as a football program and the opportunity that they can give him there.
Yeah, no, he would be a massive, like, you just go watch his film. I think everybody looks at that and he has, it doesn't take rocket science because he went from being unranked to 4-star in like a 2 week span and OU was pretty much the first team, first big school to be like throwing out an offer. And I think you look at it and you go, okay, well, how did that happen? Jim Nagy is how that happened. And they're scouting. Like, you talk about the players that they've gone and looked in and offered, and fans sometimes looking, they're like, well, they're 3-star. That changed quickly with Dallas Dickerson. He was unranked with no stars. And then he got 4 stars really quick. You look at Tyler Ruxer, right? Another guy that has completely blown up since Oklahoma offered him. Who else is on that realm? I would. Um, who else Oklahoma offered that would be in that like really good eval?
I mean, it's been a while since they offered, but I think this one has already kind of panned out just in the sense that they've become a lot more nationally coveted. The Jandro brothers were not a big deal
Yeah,
when
for
Oklahoma
sure.
offered them.
I
Their
say
their offer sheets were very modest.
Josiah Jefferson was an amazing eval. If you go watch his film, it was an easy thing for Oklahoma, right? Like to see that he's a legacy. Okay, we'll offer that because he's Tony Jefferson's little brother. But still, he's played football for 2 years and he's already doing what he's doing. That was a good eval. I look, you see a lot in the 27, like guys that just really good evals. Like they are evaluating, they're doing their due diligence on everything. And this is the new way to go about things for Oklahoma. Like it's not like they weren't evaluating previously, but you had just the coaches doing the evals and they just had to base off their stuff. There wasn't a lot of running through the channels to get the offers and evaluation. There wasn't 1,000 people. They would look at the film as a staff and be like, "Oh yeah, great, it's great." But now you got the general manager, you got the scouting department, you got the front office, and you got the coaches. It runs through a bunch of channels before the offer goes out. And so this is, I'm interested to see how this works. So far, they're hitting some dingers, man. As far as like just evaluating and throwing some good offers out. So, um, yeah, Dallas Dickerson would be an amazing get for Oklahoma. This weekend they also have Zachariah Turner on campus, right? You got Jordan Clay. You got Sooners wide receiver commit, 4-star Daniel Odom, not to be confused with 4-star defensive back Danny Odom, who is going to decide over the next week. But Daniel Odom, who is committed to Oklahoma, will be on campus this week. Well,
Which is kind of crazy, isn't it? Because,
yeah,
and I think there were many, including myself, that were
and me.
operating with the
Yep.
belief that if Jaden O'Neal wound up decommitting, Daniel Odom would wind up decommitting because the two are friends and have been for many years. And like to be clear, I guess Daniel Odom might still decommit, but as of this moment, Jaden O'Neal is not coming to town for his OV, but Daniel Odom is. So that tells you there's at least a chance that Oklahoma hangs on to the very talented wideout from Bellflower, California.
Yeah, no, if they hold on to him, that'll be, I mean, he's a dog. So like he can play. Um I I mean, that's just offensively. I think you look at it, and then defensively, I mean, the headliner is Jake Krell. I think that's pretty
Yeah,
simple.
big time.
And I mean, likes where Oklahoma stands there, Parker.
As do I. A lot of good buzz surrounding
Yep.
Krell. So if that were the splash, the big splash of OV season
Oh my
for
God.
Oklahoma on the defensive side, I mean, we know who the splash would be on the offensive side if Oklahoma is able to pull it off. But
Yeah.
that's one whale of a splash if Jake Krell is kind of the crown jewel of your defensive class.
No, it would be a massive splash. I mean, you got Taj Overton, four-star defensive tackle from Owasso coming in. I think Oklahoma's in really good standing there. Who else is on campus this week? I'm just throwing stuff off the top of my head here.
How about Jacob Eberhardt, big time
Oh
safety
yeah,
target? That's been a
like a
quiet recruitment, Brandon.
quiet
Been a
but
real
a
quiet one.
good one for Oklahoma. A good one for Oklahoma. They are in decent standing there. Um, it, everybody wants to say Missouri, 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 and I really don't. But I think Nebraska's the team that Oklahoma's contending with there. Alabama as well, but uh, those two first Oklahoma, and maybe Missouri comes in late and does what they do sometimes. But as of now, there's not a lot of Missouri buzz with Eberhardt, which was it's surprising considering where he's from, right? I think that's a shocker, but that's why I don't throw it out. Like that's why I always say, like I've seen this before. I've seen Missouri be on the outside looking in with an in-state guy, and then they come in and go, and I'm throwing the money thing. If for those that aren't watching or listening to the audio, and they get the kid. So we'll see how that plays out moving forward. But nonetheless, it could be a big weekend for Oklahoma
It very well
overall.
could be.
Yeah.
And I like where they sit going into the weekend with Zachary Turner.
Yep.
Um, they're one of the very few schools that are recruiting him as a wide receiver. A lot of places like him as a tight end, and it seems like the wide receiver pitch has really hit home with Turner. And if Emmett Jones can crack Duncanville, man, that's big because Oklahoma hasn't been into Duncanville since Savion Byrd in the 2021 class. Who
Yeah.
knows what happens with Kevin Ford Jr. at this point, but I feel good about where Oklahoma sits right now in the Turner recruitment. And let's say you get him and let's say you get Dallas Dickerson. Man, that plus the knowledge that Oklahoma's in good standing with Davian Gross and at least has a shot to hang on to Daniel Odom kind of removes the pressure to go make a splash or be able to make a splash with a guy like Jordan Clay or Craig Dandridge or Jaden Petit. So the wide receiver class, I don't think is far off from coming together in a definite, ultimate sense for Oklahoma. I don't think it's out of the question that in the next 2, 3 weeks, we know what Oklahoma's entire receiver class looks like.
Yeah. No, I would kind of agree. And look, the Davion Gross situation, again, this is more of a he's gathering representation. He's going to have the same as uh, Ryder Mix has his
Mm.
teammate at Frisco Lone Star. So once that happens, Oklahoma will do the negotiation stuff. It does sound like Oklahoma's in probably the best spot for Davion Gross, which is a huge, huge deal. You're talking about one of the top 100 players and the top 75 players in the country. So that could be big for Oklahoma to get him in tow. This offensive class could end up being pretty epic. It really could. Like all things considered, as much as OU fans have struggled with, you know, the rankings through the first half of June, I think as they go through the last half of June through July and August, I think OU fans are going to start being pretty happy with how things are trending. Would you agree?
I would. The avalanche is coming.
Yes,
We
it
talk
is.
about it every year. And inevitably, right before it hits, there tend to be a bunch of people that, whether on message boards or social media or wherever, start to get real antsy and worried about Oklahoma's recruiting efforts. And then all those worries ebb away within the span of a few weeks. And as I mentioned earlier, you have 5 decision dates that are concretely on the schedule featuring major OU targets in the next 8 days alone. And so you're not far off from seeing that surge, that midsummer surge that seems to occur for Oklahoma pretty much every single year. Not always at the exact same juncture on the calendar, but pretty close to it. And for OU, I get the sense that's coming late June, early July. Don't think we're far off.
Yeah, that avalanche is going to be fun, man. I'm excited for it. Like that. That's probably I will. I don't want to say where I'll be, but because it's a secret for certain members of our family, but where I'll be, you know, one way or the other, I'll have a mic with me. And the last part will be at the beach, obviously, with the family that we always do. During the dead period, there's a dead period in Oklahoma sports where the last week of June, the first week of July, that you can't do any football and you can't have workouts or anything. They make everybody go take vacations essentially. So that's where we'll be. But prior to that, there's a fun little stop that the family's taken, and we will. I'll be there, but I'll have Mike and Toe Parker, and it'll be have to stop and go. But that's part of the job. That's part of the job. If they're recruiting, we're working, regardless of where we're at. There's no such thing as just a vacation in our industry. I think people have realized that. There really isn't.
That's pretty true, yeah.
There really isn't. You take your mic with you when you go on vacation. You take your computer. You're always doing something. There's never just a getaway. So it is what it is. Bowe Bentley, let's talk about the Elite 11 because that ended yesterday.
By consensus, excuse me, I almost had a
You're
coughing
good.
fit.
Yep, you're
Bowe
good.
Bentley was among the top 3 to 5 quarterbacks present. No worse than number 5. If you're looking at the sum of the rankings, the weigh-ins, not just from the folks at the Elite 11, but the people covering from Rivals and 24/7 and On3, all of them seemed to agree that while Bowe Bentley was not number 1 or number 2 for that matter, the consensus seemed to be that it was Dia Bell, Keyshawn Henderson there at the top. Bowe Bentley had as good a case as anybody for number 3.
Yeah. No, I I almost was kind of shocked after reading everything that Diabell won the MVP. I was. I think a lot of people were, to be honest. I think I actually was shocked to see Keyshawn Henderson at the top. To be honest, from what you and I witnessed in Austin, that just seemed kind of maybe he was having a bad day. I don't know. When we were in Austin, he was good, but you and I talked about it. We didn't think he was like top 2 or 3 that day either. Um, I was told by several people that were there that there were some that thought Bowe Bentley was the top guy there. I mean, I think Rivals named him the number 1 guy at least one of the days.
They said he had the best pro day. Yes. So
Yep.
day 2, he was the strongest according to Rivals.
Yep. So I mean, like But again, I will say this. Remember when everybody was touting up Jackson Arnold and how well he did? Rivals was the one that was like, no, he wasn't that great
Yeah,
those days.
you take it all with a grain of salt.
Yeah. So, um, but yeah, overall, he was one of the top, what, 4 or 5 guys there, I think, at the end of the day. And when you're talking about the top 22, or I won't say the top 22 quarterbacks because I think most would consider Jaden O'Neal one of the top 10 to 15 quarterbacks in the country, if not better than that. I would say top 5 to 15 quarterbacks in the country. I think he's in that realm, and he wasn't there. Um, I, but still, to be top 4 in a lot of people's opinion, or 5 out of that group of quarterbacks is impressive, Parker. I mean, that means because there's a lot of pressure, but I don't think fans understand the pressure these guys are under during the. They put them through the ringer.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's tough, and not only do you have the coaches bearing down, and you've got a billion cajillion media members there, and cameras just flashing and everything. Like it's not like a game where you're just kind of solely focused on the rushers coming at you and all that type of. You're out on an island and everybody's staring at you when you have the football in your hands, all by yourself. That's it, and you have to do this drill while your competitors watch and while everybody else watch you do it. And it's high intensity stuff. So to be top 5, I think is impressive, nonetheless. And I don't think anybody would dispute that. I will say this: if you had to pick the strongest arm in this class that you've seen, who would it be?
The strongest arm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. It's it's really hard not to say Diabell.
The two I was told last night was Jaden O'Neal and Diabell, by far, not even close. They said the strongest arms.
And
You know
obviously,
this person, and this
I'm
person
probably
knows football. He knows quarterbacks too. So like, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
yeah,
this
I don't
dude, he
know.
said
I mean,
straight up.
obviously, I haven't seen all of these guys in person. There were guys at the Elite 11 that turned some heads that I haven't gotten the chance to watch up close. Bryson Beaver being one, Matt Ponatoski from Ohio being another. But amongst the guys that I've gotten the chance to see in person in the 26 class, I think Diabell takes the cake. Jaden O'Neal is up there, though.
Yeah, for sure. No, this person said those two without question had the strongest arm, and I'll say I've seen Jaden O'Neal throw from the net the minus 40 5 yards into the end zone without even really a hitch. So you're talking 65 yards in the air, and he just flicked his wrist. And so I can believe that. Like, because I asked him straight, I was like, who has the best arm? This person actually said Jaden O'Neal, but he said he thinks Diabell's up there. So, and I agree. I've seen Diabell since he was in 8th grade. He had the strongest arm I'd ever seen an 8th grader have. When he was at where did I go watch? American Heritage Plantation is where I saw him play. He was playing as an 8th grader there, Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy, but yeah, he was strong then. This weekend we're heading out to Indianapolis.
Yep.
Who are you most excited to see compete?
I think maybe this is not the sexiest of answers, but I'm really excited to see what Desmond Green looks like. Just
Mm-hmm.
knowing that Oklahoma is in that thing
Mm-hmm.
in the final days of that recruitment, and not having gotten the chance to see him up close and in person before, I'm really, really eager to see what he looks like there in the trenches. Of course, for those that aren't familiar with Green, he's the number one prospect in the state of South Carolina, 6'4", 330-pound interior offensive lineman. And Oklahoma's battling Florida, Georgia, South Carolina for his commitment here. So I'm excited to watch him. always excited to watch Peyton Houston, man, because he puts on a show every single time. But I've seen it so many times that I've probably lost some of the initial awe factor just because it's what you come to expect from the kid. But Desmond Green, having not seen him in person to this point, I'm really, really eager to see what that kid looks like.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think he is. I was talking to somebody last night. I told them straight up, I was like, that's the guy that I want to see in person because I've never got to talk to him in person. And he's not the easiest guy to get a hold of. So the fact that we'll actually get to know him and get a sense where he stands with things. He is visiting South Carolina this weekend, so um that's the team Oklahoma's worried about right now. Them in Georgia. So we'll see. Oklahoma still thinks they have a really good chance. I think at the end of the day, it's going to matter how much, or depend on how much money is being thrown around. I do think Oklahoma is going to throw around their fair share of money there because they really, really want Desmond Green. He is their Michael Fasusi this class, if you will, and rightfully so, right? I think um, he's got a chance to be pretty special, and they would like him to be a Sooner. So we'll see how that all plays out. Now, again, I'm excited. The other guy, I think it goes without saying, we want to see Jaden O'Neal still because we know him, right? I think from a personal standpoint, watching him compete. Um, but I think Jake Krell, just because I love watching him do one-on-ones, it's insane. That first step is Arm Mason-esque, and it's really, really hard to stop in one-on-ones. I mean, that's kind of where he became Jake Krell last year. Remember?
Was it the Rivals 5-star? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a baller, man.
And
He's a
wasn't
baller.
he like, wasn't he like a late addition to the Rivals 5-star?
I think he may have been, yeah.
Yeah. They
One of
had
those
somebody
guys.
back out, and they were like, "Let's see if we can get him," and he like drove up and just started whooping ass.
Which he'll do. He's about that smoke.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. All right. I think it's gonna do it, Parker.
Okay.
We've covered the gambit and more for everybody on this podcast. So, if you're not a member of OU Insider, look, there's so much going on. We've got a lot. We've detailed a lot that we didn't detail in here over on OU Insider with Jaden O'Neal. We've detailed a lot with several different things going on this weekend's visits. Like, there's so much going on with OU Insider VIP. Go over there. We've got a lot to got a lot covered for you guys. This is going to be a fun week, fun few weeks, fun 3, maybe a month or 2. Uh, you got the SEC Media Days. You got fall camp coming up. And we're going to have all that covered for you on OU Insider VIP. So go over there, $9.95 a month, $99.95 for the whole year. Come join us. There's thousands and thousands of OU fans on there. That place is hopping right now. So it's really, really fun. We'd love to have you guys on there. Again, ouinsider.com. You just go make a free profile, then you add it. You create your VIP access, $9.95 a month, $99.95 for the whole year, and bam, there you go. You get the access to the Lindsay Street board, the VIP stuff. You get to talk to Parker and I every day. You get to talk to Jesse. You get to talk to Brody if you like basketball. You get to talk to Jason Mahler if you like baseball. Like if you like softball, Jesse's there to talk to you. Like there's so much we got for you covered on OU Insider VIP. So go check it out. Yep. For Parker Thune, my name's Brandon John. That's going to do it for the OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast powered by Riverwind Casino. You guys have a blessed day.